In the world of American engines, few rivalries have sparked as much debate as the battle between the Chevy 292 and the Chrysler Slant-6. One was a tall, straight-six workhorse built for hauling power. The other, a tilted six, known for its legendary durability. The Chevy 292 powered hard-working pickup trucks across America's farms, while the Slant-6 kept millions of sedans, taxis, and postal vehicles running for decades. Two philosophies, two engineering visions, but both aimed at one thing: absolute reliability. And for more than half a century, enthusiasts have kept asking the same question: which one truly deserves the crown as America's greatest inline-6 engine? Let's turn back the clock and uncover the quiet yet monumental rivalry between these two icons. By the late 1950s, America was transforming rapidly. Post-war prosperity fueled an explosion in car ownership. The interstate highways stretched coast to coast, and the automobile became a symbol of freedom. Yet beneath that golden glow, a new reality emerged. Cars were getting bigger, thirstier, and more expensive to maintain. Families were asking for vehicles that were simpler and more reliable, while farmers, mechanics, and small business owners demanded engines that could work all day without complaint. That divide in consumer needs set the stage for two very different philosophies to rise. One in Detroit, under General Motors, the other in Highland Park, under Chrysler. GM engineers sought a tougher six-cylinder to replace aging truck engines, while Chrysler looked to design something smaller, smarter, and perfectly suited for the rising wave of mid-size sedans. From the first sketch, General Motors and Chrysler were driven by two opposite philosophies. GM prioritized brute strength and load capability. Chevrolet engineers believed that bigger displacement and longer stroke meant greater low-end torque, exactly what every truck driver wanted. The result was the Chevy 292 Inline-6, a 292 cubic inch engine with a 3.875-inch bore and 4.125-inch stroke, supported by 7 main bearings for durability and weighing around 630 pounds. It produced about 165 to 170 horsepower and an impressive 280 pound-feet of torque, available right off idle. Everything about it, from the rugged crankshaft to the simple Rochester carburetor, was designed for reliability and raw pulling power. In contrast, the Chrysler Slant-6 took a far more intelligent and unconventional path. Introduced in 1960, it displaced 225 cubic inches with a 3.40-inch bore and 4.12-inch stroke, and weighed just 475 pounds, nearly 150 pounds lighter than the Chevy. Its most distinctive feature was the 30-degree tilt of the block, a radical move that lowered the hood line, improved aerodynamics, and allowed longer intake runners for better fuel atomization. Like the Chevy, it used 7 main bearings, but the layout was simpler, easier to service, and could withstand tremendous neglect. Output averaged 145 to 150 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque, less than the 292, but it was famously unkillable. The 292 felt like raw muscle. It started with a deep, throaty growl and pulled like a farm tractor wrapped in steel. You could feel every beat of its torque through the chassis. The Slant-6, by contrast, was smooth and composed. It started instantly, idled quietly, and climbed through revs with calm precision. Many drivers said it felt almost too civilized for its time, the kind of engine that just never quit. But what truly earned the Slant-6 and Chevy 292 their legendary status wasn't just how they felt to drive, It was their astonishing durability, far beyond what anyone expected. For the Chevy 292, durability was its identity. Thousands of C10s, C20s, and step vans powered farms, construction sites, and small businesses across America for decades. Mechanics would often say, "You can forget maintenance, but the 292 will still start in the morning." Its thick cast-iron block, oversized crankshaft, and sturdy bearings allowed it to endure punishing workloads day after day. When properly maintained, many examples exceeded 250,000 miles without ever being rebuilt. The Chrysler Slant-6, meanwhile, earned the nickname "the engine that just won't die." Not only taxis, but private Dodge Darts and Plymouth Valiants often surpassed 300,000 miles of service. Its 30-degree tilt wasn't just a design quirk. It improved oil distribution, reduced wear, and helped the engine stay cooler under load. That's why many of these engines still run today, long after their cars have faded into history. And as America entered an age of rapid innovation, both GM and Chrysler began pushing these engines further, seeking new ways to refine and modernize them for the changing times. For the Chevy 292, GM followed the motto, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it." Over 2 decades of production, the 292 saw few radical changes. Chevrolet focused on refinement, an improved Rochester single-barrel carburetor, a more precise Delco Remy ignition system, and later emissions control upgrades. It retained its classic OHV layout, cam-in block with push rods, which made it simple, durable, and easy to service. Its strength lay not in revolution, but in consistency. Chrysler, on the other hand, became the playground of experimentation. In the early 1960s, they developed the Slant-6 Hyperpack, featuring long intake runners and a performance carburetor that boosted output from 145 to an impressive 195 horsepower, remarkable for a 6-cylinder of its time. Later, Chrysler explored electronic fuel injection and redesigned combustion chambers to meet the tightening emission standards of the 1970s. Though not all innovations reached mass production, they revealed the company's relentless pursuit of progress. Those engineering improvements quickly made their mark in the marketplace. By the mid-1960s, both the Chevy 292 and Chrysler Slant-6 had become icons in their respective classes. But they succeeded in very different ways. The Chevy 292 dominated GM's light truck segment. From the Chevrolet C10 and C20 to the GMC 1500 and step van, the 292 became the default workhorse choice. Its strong torque, pulling power, and unwavering reliability made it the trusted companion of farmers, contractors, and small business owners. Throughout the 1960s and early 70s, trucks powered by the 292 consistently ranked among GM's best sellers. Some dealerships even advertised it with slogans like, "If you want a truck that works instead of rests, get the 292. Meanwhile, the Chrysler Slant-6 became the engine of practicality. Found in Plymouth Valiants, Dodge Darts, and Dusters, it was adored by city drivers for being simple, efficient, and utterly dependable. It wasn't fast or flashy, but it started every morning and sipped fuel gently. When the 1973 oil crisis hit, those traits turned into gold. Chrysler leaned into its reputation, proudly marketing the Slant-6 as the engine you can't kill, and sales surged. By the late 1980s, as technology advanced and emissions laws tightened, both legendary engines had to step aside for a new generation. The American automotive landscape had shifted. Consumers wanted lighter, more fuel-efficient vehicles, while regulations demanded cleaner exhausts. It was the end of the line for the era of classic inline-6 engines. The Chevy 292 was discontinued in 1988 after more than 25 years of loyal service, replaced by smaller, more efficient V6 engines like the 4.3-liter. The Chrysler Slant-6 followed a year earlier, ending a nearly three-decade run, one of the longest-serving engines in the company's history. Yet their farewell was anything but tragic. Both bowed out with respect, like old soldiers who had completed their mission. They didn't just move trucks or taxis, they carried memories, reliability, and the hard-working spirit of America itself. After more than 2 decades side by side, the debate between the Chevy 292 and Chrysler Slant-6 still refuses to die. Both became legends in American automotive history, one celebrated for its raw strength, the other for its unbreakable endurance. But if there's a true king, it depends on how you define greatness. The Chevy 292 was the working man's engine, built for the fields, the farms, and the highways of Middle America. It delivered torque like no other inline-6 could, pulling loads with effortless authority. It didn't need refinement, it needed grit. The 292's deep rumble and relentless pull made it the mechanical embodiment of American muscle in a straight 6 form. Every press of the throttle felt like a wave of force, pure, honest, and confident. The Slant-6, by contrast, embodied intelligent simplicity. It wasn't powerful or flashy, but its quiet competence won over millions. It was the engine that would start on a freezing morning, sit unused for a year, and still run smoothly afterward. Its reliability bordered on mythical, the quiet heartbeat of America's cities, powering taxis, delivery vans, and family sedans for generations. If the 292 was the roaring voice of the countryside, the Slant-6 was the steady heartbeat of the city. One thrived on torque, the other on time. And together, they reflected the same American spirit: hard work, honesty, and endurance. Today, collectors no longer argue over which was better. They admire how perfectly different they were. The 292 is the hammer, strong, rugged, and loyal. The Slant-6 is the pocket knife, simple, efficient, and always ready. Both were perfect within their purpose, and both left a mark that time cannot erase. Perhaps there was never meant to be one true winner. The 292 rightfully claims the throne of power, while the Slant-6 reigns forever as the emperor of durability. A rivalry without defeat, but one that made engine history unforgettable. More than half a century later, old Chevys and Dodges still fire up in barns and garages across America, their engines humming the same familiar tune. To those who've heard it, that sound isn't just mechanical noise, it's the rhythm of an era. And maybe that's why people still say, power fades, but endurance lives forever. If you've ever heard the deep rumble of a Chevy 292 or the gentle hum of a Slant-6, share your memories in the comments. Maybe it was the first car you ever drove, or the moment you heard that sound again after years of silence. Your stories are pieces of history worth remembering. And if you love engines like these, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell to join us as we explore more machines that shaped America's soul. Because the past never truly disappears, it's just waiting to be started again, with the turn of a key.